Hey, it's Eric, and it's time for the video conversation once again this week. You may have seen the news article that recently referenced that there are only 34 members of Congress this year that have actually passed legislation into law in either party, and I'm one of those 34. My missing children bill passed recently, and you can learn more by seeing that news article by going to my Facebook page or my Twitter page, of course. But let's get into the questions, and the first actually comes in from Holly in Chanhassen, who writes in, "Dear Mr. Paulson, I'm a resident of your district and urge you to support the full replacement of animal use in military trauma training exercises with human simulation-based methods. Animals should not be subjected to this kind of treatment, and soldiers should not be forced to train using animals. Please urge the military to end this inhumane practice. Sincerely, Holly." Holly, thanks for sharing your thoughts on that subject. Actually, a lot of people may not realize it, but the military has continued to use animals, live animals, for emergency medical training use in battlefield situations. And ironically now, there have been studies that have shown that it actually is more effective to use human cadavers or to use simulation models. And those same studies have showed that in the long run, it can be more cost effective as well. I've sent a letter with several of my colleagues urging that the Department of Defense go in the different direction of not using live animals, and we have made progress with the department. I'll continue working on that effort in the future. Next up is an email that comes in from Bruce in Excelsior, who writes in, "Congressman Paulson, the people of Minnesota have always been very active in giving back to their communities. Every year they volunteer their time, effort, and money to worthwhile causes, like the local Boys and Girls Club or at a food bank. Unfortunately, every once in a while they run into a federal or state law that seems to place a disincentive on giving back to charity. Please make sure that our federal policies encourage people to give back, not make it harder. Thank you, Bruce." Actually, Bruce is absolutely right. So many Minnesotans and Americans give their time and their efforts and their finances to different charitable organizations. And we should make sure that certain provisions in the tax code continue to promote that charitable deduction component. I've sponsored legislation to make the charitable contributions for food banks, for instance, that has been made permanent in the tax code. And I also met recently with a roundtable event with the Minnesota Council nonprofits and foundations with a lot of their members discussing exactly these types of provisions about what we can do to make sure that those charitable provisions are accessed by more Minnesotans and more Americans to give to charities. I want to thank everyone for joining the conversation this week. Continue to reach out anytime on Facebook, on Twitter, or of course on Instagram. You can reach me on the web at paulson.house.gov, and have a great weekend.